Have you ever wondered why your life feels paused, as if the universe is holding its breath? What if the reason isn't that you don't know enough, but that you're still trying to think your way into a reality that only speaks the language of feeling? This is where so many seekers stumble. We're told, learn more, repeat more, believe harder, but the quantum field doesn't echo what you study or even what you say. It mirrors the frequency you embody, the emotion pulsing through your nervous system as if it were already real. Every possible future is just an empty shadow until your body begins to feel it as true. Love arrives not when you chase it, but when your breath already softens into its safety. Success unfolds not when you force it, but when your cells vibrate as if it's inevitable. The universe isn't moved by affirmations, it is moved by coherence. By the moment your thoughts and feelings stop arguing and finally tell the same story. Abundance in the mind means nothing if the body still trembles in scarcity. Trust spoken aloud is hollow if your gut still whispers fear. The field never bends to the prettiest words. It bends to the loudest vibration. And that is why so many say, I've tried everything, yet nothing shifts. On the surface, effort is visible, but beneath, the emotional current is still tied to the past, still addicted to the comfort of old struggle. It is not knowledge that shapes matter, it is emotion that collapses potential into form. You manifest not what you say, not what you know, but what you dare to feel as already true. And if most of your days are filled with waiting, doubting, or searching for signs, then waiting itself becomes the reality you inhabit. Emotion is not passive feedback, it is a living command. When you sink into fear, you activate the world where fear rules. But when you breathe joy before the reason appears, you step into the version of yourself where joy was always justified. Neville Goddard called it living in the end. Not pretending, not forcing, but embodying the chosen reality so completely that your body can no longer tell the difference between someday and now. The quantum field requires that kind of conviction to respond. So let's be honest. If you are still waiting for reality to prove itself before you allow yourself to feel, you are trapped in a loop. Because in this field, feeling does not follow evidence, feeling creates evidence. This is why some people seem to manifest with such ease. They aren't lucky. They have trained their emotional body to lead reality, not chase it. They feel first, and life races to catch up. And you can do the same. In the next chapter, we'll uncover exactly how this works, why your emotions are the true language of the quantum field, and how your body is the bridge between longing and arrival. We will learn what it truly means to feel something into being, and how to use emotion with surgical clarity to redirect your timeline. Pause for a moment and notice this. Which feeling do you return to by default without thinking about it? That habitual emotional tone is the engine steering your life. If you do not change the engine, you simply get the same route with a different map. Thoughts alone are empty plans. A thought without feeling is like a lamp bulb with no electricity, visible but powerless. When thought is charged by sincere, embodied feeling, it becomes an active current that courses through your body and out into the field. That current is what transforms possibility into experience. Emotion is not a byproduct. It is the instruction set the universe reads. On a biological level, each thought sparks chemistry. Neutral thoughts whisper, charged feelings erupt into cascades of hormones and neurotransmitters and produce measurable electromagnetic patterns. When mind and heart move together in quiet alignment, your inner field organizes itself into a coherent pattern, no longer scattered, but focused and extended beyond the skin. This is not poetic flair alone. Modern teachers of consciousness show that an aligned emotional state reorganizes biology. Your dominant feeling biases which genes are active and which neural circuits are rehearsed. In other words, you are not merely adjusting mood, you are recalibrating your physiology in the field that surrounds you. Feeling deeply has direction, it does not stay private. When you inhabit a feeling fully, it radiates outward like a tide, touching possibility and drawing the world to match it. Picture it like this. Every feeling you send out is a sonar pulse, bouncing through the quantum sea and returning with a reflection. That reflection might appear as a chance meeting, an unexpected offer, a sudden collapse, or a breathtaking miracle. But it never arrives because you forced a thought. It arrives because you embodied a vibration so deeply that reality had no choice but to echo it. This is why Neville Goddard declared that feeling is the secret. He wasn't indulging in poetry. He was revealing the mechanism itself. A thought only becomes believable to the subconscious, and therefore to the field, when it is validated by emotion. The universe does not respond to vision boards, affirmations, or carefully crafted goals. It answers only the frequency you actually hold. And here is the subtle truth. Not every emotion carries the same weight. The field is shaped not by fleeting peak moments, but by the baseline you return to when no one is watching. That quiet undercurrent, whether it hums with lack or fullness, anxiety or ease, waiting or certainty, is the true signal your body is broadcasting at all times. The universe doesn't debate with you. It doesn't bend to what you wish to feel. It reflects what you consistently embody. That is why the real breakthrough is not in chasing more techniques or thinking shinier thoughts, but in emotional alignment. You must learn to feel the truth of the future self now, before evidence appears. Evidence doesn't create the feeling. The feeling summons the evidence. This is not delusion. It is design. Your body, your heart, your nervous system, these are not obstacles. They are the transmitter, the interface where potential collapses into matter. Your emotions are not fluff. They are the control panel of your timeline. So the question is simple. Which feeling do you remain loyal to? And does that loyalty keep you tethered to yesterday or invite you into tomorrow? Here lies the hidden trap. Most people are not imprisoned by their present, but by their past emotions. The body learns frequencies so well that it replays them on autopilot, recycling old timelines again and again. Not because you are broken, but because you haven't yet taught your system how to hold a new feeling. And so the cycle repeats. You set intentions, you rewrite plans, you crave change, and yet you find yourself back in the same patterns, the same outcomes, the same old ache. The culprit is rarely your strategy or even your mindset. It is emotional memory. Many are not living in the now, but in an emotional echo, reliving the chemistry of 5, 10, even 20 years ago. And what is familiar becomes home, even if that home still hurts. This is what I call an emotional inversion. You set your sights on a new future, yet your nervous system still hums with the echoes of the past. The betrayal, the failure, the disappointment. Your subconscious whispers, "This is who I am. This is how I feel. This is what's safe." And the field responds, not with your desires, but with the emotion you've rehearsed the most. Because here's the hidden law. You're not feeling what's real. You are making real what you feel. The moment your body slips into a familiar emotional state, stress, anxiety, frustration, unworthiness, it sends a signal. That signal becomes your vibrational address, and life, like a cosmic GPS, routes every outcome back to you based on that address. You don't attract what's good, you attract what's active. And for most people, what's most active is the past. You may wake with dreams of a brighter future, yet your heart is still tangled in yesterday's fight, last month's disappointment, or a childhood belief that whispers, "I always fall short." So even when your mind paints a beautiful vision, your body broadcasts a very different message, a signal that contradicts what you say you want. This is why the same loops keep playing, not because you are cursed, but because your frequency hasn't shifted. You're still transmitting the same identity while wishing for a new one. And the quantum field does not reward effort. It reflects alignment. If your heart still clings to the old emotion, the field will continue to mirror the old timeline. Both neuroscience and spirituality affirm this. Your body does not distinguish between an emotion from the past, an imagined one, or something unfolding right now. Relive a painful memory and thought, and your brain fires the same neurons, your body releases the same chemistry, and your field reactivates the same frequency. You are not responding to the present moment. You are reacting to what used to be and calling it reality. This is the emotional prison, and the most dangerous part is that it feels normal because your sense of self has wrapped itself around those emotions. They have become your identity. So even when something good arrives, part of you resists. Not because you don't want it, but because it doesn't match the inner signature you've memorized. It doesn't feel safe. And so without realizing it, you self-sabotage. You delay, you hesitate. Not with logic, but with emotion. This is why the deepest transformation is not about rewriting your vision board or chanting more affirmations. It begins with teaching your body how to feel different here and now. Breaking the loop means interrupting the automatic habit that insists, this is simply how I am. That habitual feeling is not destiny, it is a program. And like any program, it can be rewritten. But the discipline required is not intellectual, it is emotional. You must choose loyalty to the feeling of the life you are becoming more often than you return to the safety of what you already know. Teach your body the sensation of living in the new timeline before the world hands you proof. Flip the inversion, stop waiting for life to hand you a different feeling, and begin feeling the life you want so consistently that your nervous system no longer recognizes the old pattern. Practice this daily, intentionally, not only when it is easy. This is the practical rebellion against unconscious repetition. Most people know what they want and still fail because their muscle memory, the hidden library of emotional responses, keeps playing the same tracks. You set intentions, you plan, you act, yet the emotional backdrop rewrites every scene to match the past. The key is to change the backdrop. There is a doorway between where you are and where you want to be. It does not swing open from force, logic, or effort alone. It opens when your body begins to inhabit the future as if it were present. When your nervous system stops waiting for proof and starts radiating conviction. When emotion stops being a memory and becomes an attraction. That is the instant timelines reweave themselves. Not because the outside world altered first, but because you did. This is not about pretending. It is deliberate design. Feeling is the protocol the field reads. If you continue to reserve the new feeling for later, after the promotion, after the healing, after the yes, you delay the very event that would create permission to feel. Pre-feel instead. Let your internal state announce to the field that this version of you already exists, and reality will begin to arrange itself around that signal. Now, how do you actually do this? Begin in a place of quiet. Sit with intention. Close your eyes. Soften your jaw. Bring your awareness to the space in your chest, not to analyze, but to sense. Choose precisely the reality you want to inhabit. Be specific. Not vague abundance, but steady security, ease that carries you, a flow that feels effortless. Not just love in theory, but the felt truth of being safe, chosen, cherished. Then let the words fall away and move into the sensation. Not the idea of having it, but the felt sense of being it now. Ask your body, how would it live if this were already true? Allow whatever arises, warmth, openness, a soft steadiness, to appear without forcing. Breathe into it, smile into it, let it widen. This is not about convincing your mind, it is about reminding your cells. Stay there for minutes. Let your nervous system catalog the experience as familiar and safe. When you open your eyes, move through the day from that version of you. This practice rewires more than belief. It sculpts new neural pathways, a new heart set point, and a persistent vibrational signature in your field. Repetition is the lock. Feeling on purpose is the key. You do not need perfection, you need intention. Become emotionally loyal to the version of you who already lives this life, even if the outer world hasn't caught up. Keep the signal alive, not once a month, but as a way of being, and sooner than you expect, the external world will begin to rearrange. People shift, opportunities arrive, money moves, and ideas land. Not because you forced an outcome, but because you embodied its cause. You felt it first, and the field had no choice but to answer. So start now. Drop into that feeling, even if only for a breath. When it settles, let that slight change be your new baseline and your new code. Write it as a declaration. I feel it real now. Post it below as your frequency stamp, a simple signal to the field and to yourself that the shift is underway. Ahead, we will map what happens after the shift, how timelines respond to sustained emotional coherence, and why your steady feeling state is the single most potent tool you possess for stepping into a new reality. For now, do not only imagine the future, feel it. Stay with me. There is more to unfold. Timelines do not bend to thought alone. They bow to what you feel to be true. Feeling becomes the selector, the activator, the key that opens the gate between the version of you on the edge and the version of you who has already arrived. Practically speaking, each timeline carries its own tonal signature. That tone is measured not by outward appearances, but by the inner climate. The you who lives in abundance breathes ease, generosity, and worth. The you in deep love carries safety, openness, and a quiet radiance. The field does not hand you what you want. It grants access to the timelines you match. So ask yourself, which emotions are you rehearsing day after day? Not the ones you wish for, but the ones you feed. If you rise into low-level anxiety, if you scan life for proof and oscillate between hope and doubt, those habitual feelings tune you into timelines where anxiety and uncertainty are valid. Not because you are flawed, but because you are consistent. Consistency is the language the field understands. Your dominant emotion becomes your vibrational home, and your home shapes your reality. This is why people who feel unworthy often repel the very things they desire. The desire says yes, but the deeper feeling says no, and the field answers the stronger signal. The missing link for most seekers is not changing identity completely. It is learning to feel like the version who already has it. Not perfectly, not forever, but often enough for the body to accept safety and for the field to register the frequency. Here's the mechanism. Feeling a new emotion sends a new signal. That signal initiates a feedback loop. The more you inhabit the feeling, the more confirming evidence shows up. The more evidence appears, the firmer your belief becomes. Belief that functions as confirmation, not as the original cause. Emotion is the bridge from potential to embodiment. It is not mere response, it is access to different frequencies. Once you understand this, everything shifts. You do not have to wait for circumstances to grant you the feeling you want. You can evoke it now, on purpose. The instant you do, you begin to collapse into that matching timeline. The new version of you never comes walking toward you. It is you who walks into them. Emotion is the password. Every timeline has its own code, and that code is always felt, never thought. You can memorize every teaching about abundance, yet still live outside of it because the body was never allowed to feel abundant. You hold the key, but you refuse to turn the lock. So how do you shift? You stop waiting for evidence and start rehearsing the feeling. You become emotionally loyal to the version of yourself who already lives the life you desire. Not by pretending, but by choosing it again and again until the body forgets the old rhythm. And when it does, something beautiful happens. The shift no longer needs chasing, it arrives. The mirror stops demanding proof. It reflects you back. You stop trying to convince, and people sense your presence. The field no longer registers someone on the way. It recognizes someone who already is. And being is what bends timelines. This is not motivation, it is quantum mechanics. You do not need to force outcomes. You only need to stabilize the state, and the state is emotional. In the end, the only true delay between you and the life you are summoning is hesitation of the heart. The very moment you allow yourself to feel it real, consistently, deeply, unapologetically, the shift is complete. The timeline is not coming, it is here, and you are living inside it. There is a point in every journey when the question, when will it happen, dissolves and you begin living as though it already has. Not to trick the universe, but because you finally remember the truth. Nothing becomes real until you feel it real. This is the pivot from becoming to being, from hoping to knowing, from chasing to embodying. Reality does not bow to your effort, it reflects your emotional identity. Who you are in the unseen moments, day after day, is what the field answers to. You don't need another breakthrough. You don't need another technique. You only need to grant yourself permission. Permission to feel peace before circumstances prove it. Permission to feel love before anyone arrives. Permission to feel abundance while numbers still say, not yet. Because what you feel, you feed. And what you embody, you become. The field does not require perfection, it requires coherence. When thought, feeling, and energy no longer contradict but harmonize into one identity, manifestation is no longer an effort. It becomes inevitable. You don't wait for the new timeline to appear. You collapse into the one that has been waiting for you all along. So ask yourself, can you trust the feeling more than the facts? Can you remain in the state even when no evidence has arrived? Can you remember who you truly are, even when the world reflects back the person you used to be? That is mastery. That is the real initiation. That is the frequency of the new you. And here's the secret. The moment you stop demanding that the old version of you vanish, the new one awakens. Not because the world outside has shifted, but because you stopped resisting what was always within. You stopped searching, you stopped fixing, you stopped postponing your embodiment, and you began to live it. This path was never meant to take you to someday. It leads to a stillness that carries its own power. The quiet moment where alignment feels natural, where you no longer chase the future because you sense it right now. And in sensing it, you collapse it. Not in theory, but in your field, your biology, your timeline. This is not imagination. This is quantum reality. If these words resonate, it means your being already remembers. The real invitation is simple. Keep this frequency alive. Let it be more than a fleeting moment. Let it become your daily rhythm, your silent practice, your natural state, because this is where it all begins. Not with proof, but with feeling. Not with arrival, but with awareness. So live it now, not tomorrow, not when everything lines up. Now. And if this message touched you, stay connected. Subscribe and walk this journey with us so together we keep remembering and embodying the truth of who we are.